Hey, yo, check this out. Bustin' on the scene, moving like a dream. It's nothing you've ever seen. We're breaking all the rules, anything we choose. Verify, living proof. I got something new. We're breaking all the rules, anything we choose. Verify, living proof. I got something new.
Taking a look at all the stories making the headlines now, it's the ITV Lunchtime News.
Why didn't the Met find Boris Johnson pictured drinking at Downing Street during a lockdown? The photos that have led to more questions for the police and the Prime Minister.
It's really important, in my view, the Met Police explain how they reached their conclusions.
Also this lunchtime, energy bills to go up again. Ofgem says the price cap could rise another £800 in October. Stop students being spiked, the government's order to universities. A new railway, new trains and new technology. A landmark day for London as Crossrail finally opens.
Sensational. Utterly sensational.
The speed is just crazy, and obviously if you're working in London or going somewhere, it's super, convenient.
And the Tree of Trees, the huge tribute to the Queen outside Buckingham Palace.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. When is a party not a party? The Prime Minister's supporters are clear. New pictures of him obtained by ITV News having a drink at a leaving do during strict pandemic restrictions was work. Boris Johnson had told the Commons no party had taken place on the date the photos were taken. Critics say other key workers were not allowed to socialise at the time. He has lied and questioned why the Metropolitan Police haven't fined him. Here's our political reporter, Shihab Khan.
Good morning, everybody. It is an attempt to get on with business as usual. A cabinet meeting today as Boris Johnson tries to rally his team and shift the agenda.
In fact, I don't want to let a single cabinet go by without repeating that under this government, unemployment is now down to its lowest level since 1974.
But it is these images which are haunting the Prime Minister. Him with 8 others raising a glass at a leaving party for one of his members of staff. All while the rest of us were in a second lockdown. He hasn't been fined for it, but others who attended have. And Boris Johnson had previously denied there had been any rule breaking or any parties on that day.
The Prime Minister misled Parliament, Minister.
You endorse law breaking in Cabinet, Priti Patel.
The questions that this all raises just aren't going away.
I couldn't see my own dad during this period, who was in hospital for 4 months during coronavirus, and we thought we'd lost him. So it upsets me to see pictures like these. Having said that, we've known about this for many months. And look, the Prime Minister's embarrassed about what happened. He's apologised. He's completely reformed Downing Street.
Even some who sit on the government's own backbenches are far from impressed with the latest revelation.
Seriousness in government, seriousness in politics are fundamental to the security and protection of the British people. And I'm afraid when I see those photographs, it doesn't look serious, does it?
What makes you say that?
It's a moment of national emergency. You look at those photos, tell me what you see.
Some will see that the Prime Minister wasn't fined, while others in those images were, something which the Mayor of London believes raises questions of the Met Police.
It's really important, in my view, the Met Police explain how they reached their conclusions. Why? Because we're policed by consent. It's right and proper the public has confidence in policing.
The Liberal Democrats are urging the policing watchdog to intervene if there are no answers.
so important that the Met Police does provide this clarity as to why that is the case. And if they can't, the police watchdog has to step in and provide some transparency and public trust back into the process.
Sue Gray's report is due imminently, and it is expected to contain more photos, which means there could be more trouble ahead for the government. Shihab Khan, ITV News, Westminster.
Our Deputy Political Editor, Anushka Asthana, joins me from Westminster. Downing Street has denied reports that the Prime Minister didn't want the Sue Gray report published at all. When are we expecting it, and how bad could it be?
Well, we're expecting it either tomorrow or Thursday morning because they say it's going to be published before recess. In terms of how bad it's going to be, a couple of weeks ago, sources told me that it was terrible for the civil service, but didn't necessarily nail the Prime Minister. However, they also made clear that she was willing to harden it up in the meantime. And I suspect that that's partly what she's been doing. It certainly is the case that Sue Gray is unhappy about the way that there have been briefings around her. In terms of the mood in the party and how they might respond to it, someone said to me today, it's almost like MPs are divided between those who are fed up of this story and want it to go away and those who are very unhappy. I've spoken to MPs and even ministers this morning who say that the mood is really quite grim, and some of them are actually thinking about putting in new letters of no confidence against the Prime Minister. Some on the other side have actually withdrawn those letters. However, those who are angry feel that there needs to be a change, and not only over this, over the domestic response to other stories like the cost of living crisis, and they want to see a new reshuffle that we think the Prime Minister is expected to do before the summer, and they think where that lands is going to be very important for the mood going forward.
OK, Anushka, thank you very much. Well, let's turn to the latest on that cost of living crisis now, because in the last hour, the head of the energy regulator, Ofgem, has warned of another staggering increase in energy prices. The price cap is expected to rise to £2,800 in October. That's more than double what it was last October, and nearly £1,000 more than it is now. Our political correspondent Daniel Hewitt joins me. Take us through the new figures, Daniel, and the new warning.
Yeah, Nina, this price rise has been touted around, been speculated for several weeks, but to hear it here in Parliament said over an hour ago was a pretty sobering moment. It is no exaggeration to say that a rise on this scale will be devastating for millions of families. But you're right, the head of Ofgem said he will be writing to the Chancellor later today to say that the estimated energy price cap, which is the maximum price that suppliers can charge households, is estimated to be £2,800 in October. A reminder that in October 2021, that energy price cap was set at just over £1,200. In April, we saw a very sharp rise to £1,971. It's estimated to rise even further in 5 months' time by almost £900. Now, Ofgem say this rise is being driven by a huge increase in wholesale gas prices caused by the war in Ukraine. But to put this into perspective, Nina, Ofgem today warned that in April, when we saw that price rise, 6.5 million households were pushed into fuel poverty, meaning they spend a high proportion of their income on their energy bills. This, he says, would see that almost double to 12 million households in fuel poverty. This is what he had to say.
Now, I know this is a very distressing time for customers, but I do need to be clear with this committee, with customers and with the government about the likely price implications for October. Therefore, later today, I will be writing to the Chancellor to give him our latest estimates of the price cap uplift. Now, this is uncertain. We are only part way through the price cap window, but we are expecting a price cap in October in the region of £2,800.
And he warned it could go higher. This piles the pressure on the Treasury, on Rishi Sunak to do more. He has said he'll wait and see to see how bad it is in October. Well, frankly, Chancellor, this is really, really bad. And Ofgem today says we need the government to step in. This is something only the government can address.
Daniel Hewitt, thank you very much. Thank you. MPs have concluded the UK's withdrawal from Afghanistan last August was a disaster and a betrayal of British allies. The report by the Cross-Party Foreign Affairs Committee has called on the Foreign Office's top civil servant to resign. It found the Foreign Office failed to make necessary preparations for withdrawal. Mismanagement of the evacuation in a crucial period likely cost hundreds of people their chance to leave the country and, as a result, likely cost lives. And the withdrawal has heightened the terror threat from Afghanistan. Well, the government has responded today, saying staff worked tirelessly to evacuate more than 15,000 people from Afghanistan in a fortnight. For reaction, I'm joined by Ash Alexander Cooper, a former British Army colonel, and by Dr. Neelam Rainier, Associate Professor from Middlesex University. Welcome both. What do you, first of all, Neelam, make of those findings?
I think those findings are absolutely correct and true. They are damning, but they're absolutely true.
So the reporters called for the resignation of this top civil servant. Boris Johnson in the last hour has backed that top civil servant. What is your reaction to the findings and that call?
Well, I echo what Nina said. I mean, nothing surprises us that was written in the report. And we're grateful that it's been published and its candour and its honesty. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do much to change the situation on the ground for those left behind. And there are many who have actually already been murdered and tortured as a result of being left behind, and many thousands more who are still waiting to hear what will happen to help them get out, as we promised to do.
No surprise, you say. Were you surprised at the lack of preparation for this, in terms of this is something that you would expect presumably would be planned for if the situation would arise?
One would have expected it not to have been such a last-minute dash. You know, we all saw the chaotic scenes, the tragic scenes at the airport with people just, you know, it was terrible to see it all unfold the way it did. So absolutely, we could have done more early, I think, earlier in the process.
Neelam, what of those left behind now? What's the current situation for anybody who didn't make it out 9 months ago?
The current situation has a gender divide here. Those who are still able to get out of their houses and have passports and have the money to do COVID tests and have survived the food crisis are still waiting to get out of the country legally into Pakistan or into Iran and then leave from there. But the UK government is doing nothing to help them get here. Those who are women and children and other minority groups who have now been locked by the Taliban inside their homes have no chance. There is no way they can get out of home. There is no way they can get a passport renewed or a visa issued or travel with their little children across an international border with the hope and the money to be able to come to the UK, which is where they were supposed to be, as the government announced all those fantastic, fabulous new schemes to rescue the Afghans, none of which work. The ACRS scheme that is apparently open right now is not open to applications, works on referrals only. The UK government's website says that UNHCR will do referrals to those who can get to UNHCR. UNHCR's website says we will not do any referrals for any resettlement programs for any international organisations. So
and the ever-changing situation there is leading, according to this report, to a greater threat of terrorism here.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, while our eyes are turned away from Afghanistan, the Taliban and ISIS and others are regrouping and gaining more confidence. Just to echo or to reinforce what Nina was saying, those women who can no longer leave their houses, many of them are on their own now anyway because their husbands and brothers and the male members of the family are in hiding. And I've got examples of families that I've been trying to support where that male member has now been found and they've been tortured, and some are lucky to be alive, but they've been told very clearly that this is a warning, and many of these attacks are as punishment for the other members of the family that we were able to get out. So the situation is pretty dire, and there's no solution at the moment that the government's really articulating.
And ongoing. Ash and Neelam, thank you very much for coming in to talk to me about the latest situation. Thank you. The Metropolitan Police is investigating after a mixed-race schoolgirl was reportedly strip-searched in the presence of male officers. The 15-year-old, who is autistic, is said to have been handcuffed and had her underwear cut off. Her mother told the BBC she was left traumatised and later tried to take her own life. This case follows the case of child Q, a black teenager who was strip-searched at a school in London after she was wrongly accused of possessing drugs. Universities have been told by the government it is their responsibility to stop students being spiked. Research by the Alcohol Education Trust has found more than 1 in 10 young adults have had their drinks spiked or been victims of a needle attack. The university's minister has announced colleges need to come up with a plan by the end of the year to try to stamp it out. Sally Biddulph has the details.
I sat in the booth probably in about 2 minutes, I was just unconscious, lying on the floor. I had no recollection. Apparently, like, I was confused about where I was. I thought I was in Australia, where I used to live for a while. My friends, like, luckily, clearly knew that I wasn't drunk because we hadn't drank much, and also they just know who I am.
Student Tia Lyons is one of hundreds of people who have been spiked. She was given a free drink on a night out with friends and within minutes was barely conscious.
I don't remember like the half an hour to like 2 days really. I don't remember getting home from the hospital. I don't remember like getting to the bar, getting this free drink. I don't remember walking. I have like no recollection at all.
At best, victims like Tia are left with memory loss. But worst case, others are raped. And spiking is on the rise, with the vast majority of victims being women. It comes in two forms, a drug being dropped into a drink or being injected in a so-called needle attack. A survey last year found 12% of young adults said they had experienced spiking, with over a third of incidents happening at private parties. And now the government wants action. It's set up a working group to get new measures in place for the autumn to help protect and support students in higher education.
The purpose of this is to really forge collaboration between the police, between universities, between colleges, between the nighttime economy, and to share best practice as well. We know that there's a number of universities that are doing an amazing job on educating their students about the risks, facilitating a process should something happen, and giving them the tools to deal with that. But we want to make sure that that is widespread.
Best practice is a start, both for prevention and support after an attack. But campaigners want tougher laws too, and they have marched repeatedly for it. The Home Office is now considering how to tighten sentences and strengthen victims' rights. Sally Biddulph, ITV News.
Still to come, a new railway for London. The Elizabeth line is finally open, but it's been a very, very long wait. And the Tree of Trees, a huge sculpture outside Buckingham Palace ahead of the Queen's Jubilee. First, the Premier League footballer Kurt Zouma has pleaded guilty to kicking and slapping his cat. The defender was forced to apologise after harrowing footage was filmed and shared, which showed him following the cat across his kitchen and throwing a pair of shoes at it. Antoine Allen is at Thames Magistrates Court. Antoine, what happened in court?
Well, there was a lot of media attention as Kurt Zouma arrived separately from his brother Johan Zouma, but as soon as proceedings began here, they both admitted and pleaded guilty to the charges brought against them by the RSPCA. Now, this is all due to the infamous video of Kurt abusing his family cat. Now, ITV News has chosen not to show the full extent of the video, but the full footage does show Kurt kicking and slapping the cat, and you can hear Johan Zouma laughing in the background, and he recorded the video as well. Now, both brothers have apologised for what the footage shows, and Kurt has been fined £250,000 by West Ham. But today, his lawyer also stated that his family's received racist and abuse, which has also led to death threats. 100 accounts have been closed on social media, and 7 people have been prosecuted. Now, both brothers will appear back here next week for sentencing.
Antoine Allen, thank you. To the country's all-new railway now. Yes, it's over budget, years late and taken decades to come to fruition, but for hundreds of train lovers, today was a day for celebration. Crossrail does just that. It crosses the capital, now renamed the Elizabeth Line in honour of the Queen. It stretches 73 miles and is one of Europe's biggest construction projects. Now, thousands have taken their first journey on it.
Sensational, utterly sensational.
We left Paddington, 12 minutes ago, and we're already at Whitechapel, so already the speed is just crazy, and obviously if you're working in London or going somewhere, it's super, convenient.
My girlfriend's a really big train enthusiast, so yeah, I'm here to support her and all the other train lovers of London.
Sejal Karia joins us from one of these stations. Sejal.
Yes, it's been hailed as the line to revolutionise travel in the capital, a triumph of engineering and design, and it's expected to serve 200 million passengers every year and increase rail capacity by 10%. And it opened to a huge fanfare this morning with promises it'll boost the whole national economy. But it's been 3.5 years late and billions of pounds over budget, and even the launch this morning wasn't without its problems. Just 2 hours in, some of the platforms at Paddington Station were evacuated because of a fire alarm, opening again after 30 minutes. I travelled on one of the trains to this station, Farringdon, this morning. It was fast, it was quiet, it was bright, it was airy, and yes, it was impressive, but perhaps not for the north of the country, where critics argue that train services are still a slow go and rail infrastructure is woefully inadequate. And I put those points to the Transport Minister, Baroness Fair, this morning.
This project was conceived 20 plus years ago, and transport infrastructure always takes a long time, and that's why the government has developed really big plans for the North, for the Midlands, with the integrated rail plan. That's £96 billion. That is many times more than Crossrail investment. So it's important now that we get that delivered and that we make sure that all the local transport integrates with those big rail projects, and so we get people around.
And the line still isn't running end to end, only in 3 separate sections, and commuters will have to wait at least until next May to travel the full length uninterrupted.
Jill, thank you. Finally, tree planting has long been a staple duty for the royals, so fittingly a massive sculpture created by the British designer Thomas Heatherwick has appeared outside Buckingham Palace to mark the Platinum Jubilee. Our royal editor Chris Shipp is there. It's called the Tree of Trees, and it really is, Chris.
It's exactly that, Nina, a tree of trees, and taking its place and taking shape in front of Buckingham Palace. You can just see it behind me there, 350 trees in that structure. That, however, is not the final product, because you can probably just see the top of it over there, and that's going to be hoisted into place within the next few minutes or so, although the weather's looking quite ominous and they haven't yet been able to put the crane up. But it's in order to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee, yes, but also the tree planting that the Queen has done throughout her reign. And there's been a project which has been run since last year called the Queen's Green Canopy, and around 1 million trees have been planted up and down the country. So next week, when the whole focus is on this place for those Jubilee celebrations over that long bank holiday weekend, this tree takes a pride of place. It'll be lit up. It's actually right next door to the Queen Victoria Memorial. And I can see behind me they're already building the stages. There's scaffolding going up everywhere. This, of course, will be the place to be next week.
Chris, thank you. And I'm sure Mary will be here with the full Tree of Trees at 6:30 from me. Bye-bye.
A cold start, with a snow shower spreading quickly across the east. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Good afternoon to you. Brighter skies out there today, but the sunshine interrupted by frequent scattered showers in the next few hours, and after a calm start to the week, turning windy into Wednesday. This is the earlier satellite and radar picture. Blue skies interrupted by widespread showers and longer downpours, these cropping up almost anywhere in the next few hours. They'll be hit and miss in many locations. Some will be intense and prolonged enough to give rumbles of thunder, the chance of some hail, a deluge in places. You'll be brave to leave home without the brolly. Across West Wales, southwest here, a little drier and brighter, and that fine weather drifting in from the west as we head through the afternoon. Highs of 18 or 19 degrees in sheltered sunnier spots. For many of us, a fine, bright end to the day, but those downpours, those showers take a little longer to ease from the east. And then through tonight, another batch of wet weather wriggling its way in from the west. Here, dull and damp into the small hours. Further east, drier, a little clearer and a little chillier by dawn.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
We can make anything. We can make visionary ideas come to life. We look forward to a brighter future. And we're excited to make the journey even more fascinating. We can make anything, but whatever we make, let's make sense.
Lidl, we're always little on price. And at times like these, when everything else seems to be going up, we make our prices little, and sometimes even littler, on everything from humble spuds to British roast to cheeky chilies, from Lidl favourites to big brands. So from milk to your weekly shop, you could get more from Lidl. Now that's big on quality, and always little on price.
Thousands of top UK brands pay us when you shop, and we share that cash with you. So, thinking of shopping online? Top cash back.
What if people with type 1 diabetes had the power to manage their condition without pricking their finger? To know their glucose levels and where they're heading with just a glance at their phone? To help you know when you're high or low? To get a 20-minute warning before a hypo? To check on their loved ones wherever they are? All this knowledge powered by a small wearable glucose sensor. Experience the Dexcom difference today. Visit dexcom.com.
When your home life's full on, you need a vacuum with full-size performance, like the new Vax Edge. It gives you everything that's great about an upright vacuum, but without the cord. So you get all the freedom of cordless cleaning in a vacuum, with onboard tools, a full-size bin, and up to 100 minutes high-performance runtime to power through the big whole-home clean. Thanks to 2 removable 1-power batteries, and whether it's hard floor or carpet, with VersaClean technology, Edge tackles dirt 2 ways. First, the soft roller captures big stuff easily. Then the twin helix brush bar lifts fine dirt from deep in the carpet. It might be full-sized and feature-packed, but Edge is so easy to steer. Cleaning up high? There's a long-reach hose on board. Connect the motorized pet tool and you're ready to sort out the sofa and stairs. While you control it all with a touch. And with all that runtime, plus its large capacity bin, Edge keeps going till the whole home's clean. The new no-cord, no-compromise Vax Edge. Order yours direct today and get a free toolkit. With payment options and free delivery at vax.co.uk. When life gets messy, get Vax.
Are your old freestanding wardrobes a waste of space? We'll help you uncover up to twice the storage space of freestanding wardrobes. All Sharp's wardrobes are created to fit more in, maximising every millimetre of space and tailoring the perfect storage solutions. Trust Sharps to create beautifully organised space. Our half-price sale ends Sunday. Call or click for your nearest showroom or free home design visit.
Good afternoon. A mum from Bedfordshire who quit her job to homeschool her autistic daughter is calling for more support for families of children with special educational needs. Rachel Midgley from Leighton Buzzard had to take 9-year-old Ava out of school because of delays getting a care plan. The Education Select Committee met today to discuss these issues. Its chair, the Harlow MP Robert Halfon, said SEN provision does need more frontline staff.
The longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be for me to get her back into any form of education. And that's the really, sad part of it.
Bedfordshire's Chief Constable says the police's new anti-racism strategy launched today is a watershed moment, but there's still a long way to go. Gary Forsyth partly developed the plan, which he says will give officers more training to tackle discrimination and bias. We'll be hearing from him about that strategy on our main programme at 6 o'clock tonight. Now, in other news, volunteers at a community garden in Peterborough say they have no idea how much it'll cost to repair damage caused by vandals. Rail World Wildlife Haven in Woodston has been forced to close after windows were smashed and doors were broken for the second time in 3 weeks.
It's absolutely soil destroying. I mean, some of our volunteers are nearly in tears when this happens, you know, and it seems to be happening so many times and so often.
One of our leading art galleries says female artists need to be more forceful if they're to get noticed in their field. Just 7% of art on display in top exhibitions is by women. Tanya McFarlane from Northampton's Rose Gallery says the art world's still dominated by men, so women have to shout louder. Her exhibitions, they have a more even gender split.
There's an equal number, and as I say, we don't select by gender. We try to be as diverse as we possibly can, and we don't consciously have an equal amount of artwork for women or men. It's just aesthetically what we think would sell.
And finally, a team of scientists at the University of Cambridge has shown that in future, algae could be used as a sustainable source of power. The algae produces a small electrical current while photosynthesising sunlight into energy, and scientists have shown that that system can sustain itself for a year. It could be used to power things like miniature computers or digital clocks. Right, let's take a look at the weather forecast now. Here's Chris.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
Hello there. Very good afternoon to you. After a rather dry and bright start for all this morning, the showers have got going, and that means that some of us through this afternoon will see some hefty downpours here and there. Some of them could have the odd rumble of thunder. Temperature 16 to near 17 degrees there in Bedford. 17, of course, is 63 in Fahrenheit.